Jackbox's secrets. Just kidding. Just a few secrets. Hee 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 ha ha ha. Anyway, I hope everyone is having a lovely Wednesday. What are you up to? Did you get started earlier this week? What'd you do the rest of the week? I gotta know. Tell me. Big plans? Small plans? No plans? The idea of no plans sounds very nice, if you ask me. Anyway, this is Abby here. Remember me? Abby? Anyway, we will be getting started in just another minute or two. I just wanted to pop in and say hello. And I'll see y'all there. Goodbye. Okay, everyone, it's just about time. We are about to get started. Just a moment. I need to make sure I'm unmuted in the Discord. Everyone, hello, and welcome to another Jackbox live stream. We are now live. Everyone, you are on a stream. My name is Abby Russell, and we are going to be talking about behind the scenes of Party Pack 10, the latest Jackbox Party Pack. We have 5 great games, and I have 5 devs here to talk through them. So if people want to introduce themselves, talk about what they did on Party Pack 10, and then maybe say your favorite thing about spring. Okay, Tim, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Tim Sniffen, and within the world of Party Pack 10, I was the director of Tee K.O 2, and my favorite thing about spring is that smell from the ground after like a really nice rainfall. I know we got slammed here in Chicago last night with rain, but it's still one of my favorite smells in the world. Do you want me to pass it to someone else?
Yes, that would be great, but I agree it's a great smell.
Yes, I send it to Alina.
Hello. My name is Alina Constantine. I was the creative director on FixyText, and that was an amazing experience. Let's see, about spring. Great thing is you don't know where you're going to wear tomorrow. That's the great thing about spring. And I'll pass it over to Chase.
Hello, I'm Chase. I was the original pitch and then one of the devs on Dodo Re Mi, and also amazing experience. And let's see, favorite thing about spring for me is going to be my local farmers market starting up. I think it's in April. I think that's when it starts, and it's a great day. CJ.
Hello, I'm CJ Tor. In Jackbox Party Pack 10, I was the editorial lead on Hypnotorious. And my favorite thing about spring is Easter egg hunts, because they prepare children for the exciting world of escape rooms. Kids can't leave my yard.
To Spencer. Hi,
no, wait, hold
everyone.
on.
Oh, no, okay.
CJ has to admit to a kidnapping.
Okay.
If he finds all the eggs, he can leave. Spencer,
right.
What do you have to tell us?
Oh, thank you, CJ. Yeah, so hi, I'm Spencer Ham. I was the game director for Timejinx, and my favorite thing about spring was already taken, the smell from the ground. But my second favorite thing would be the Cadbury chocolate milk, like the milk chocolate eggs from Cadbury. Oh, top 5 candy And they're
Little
industrial
guys
now.
with the
Yeah.
hard outside.
Hard
But the big
shell.
ones
Yeah.
with the goopy middle.
Well, not the goopy middle. These are the smaller, like baby
They're
bird
incredible.
size, that have a hard shell. They're very, very good.
I like the goopy middle ones personally. I recently
Oh.
bought some from Target, and the person checking me out was like, "Have you had these before?" And I said yes. And she's like, "I ask everyone, and most people say no." And I was like, fascinating.
That is.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my Cadbury egg trivia about me. I guess my favorite thing about spring is I also like the clothes. I like being in layers. It's a little bit warm, but it's not too warm. Anyway, shall we get started? How the stream is going to work. We are going to show some early behind the scenes looks at like what every game in Party Pack 10 looked like when it was first being made, when it was just a little baby idea, a seed in the spring ground, and before it bloomed into the games we all know and love. And then we'll show the final product, the released Party Pack 10 version of each game, and see how they progressed. Does that sound good to everyone?
I like it, Abby.
Woo! Shall we start with TKO 2? Tim, take it away.
Let's. So, I'm just gonna show you a little bit of like, we had like a document where we like collected ideas for TKO 2. And just to set the table a little bit, there had been some outcry over the years for a sequel to TKO. And so for Party Pack 10, finally it was decided that we would do that. So we were the first game that went into production. That meant we had a little extra time to kind of figure out what we were doing. And the nice thing is also we had a bit of a roadmap because we were building on TKO. So the thing that I'm going to share is a mural board. And it's probably going to, can you see that? Or did it just go away?
It went away for me.
Weird. Let me try and share it again. It looked like it was about to happen and then it,
Discord's gonna Discord.
Discord's gonna Discord. Okay. Can you see it now?
I'm in. I can also
Okay,
see
great.
the link. Is that okay?
Now, what happens here is we'll use this kind of thing sometime where you're going to see different color Post-it notes. I'm not going to zoom all the way in because it's just going to be too much information for everyone. But it allows different team members to weigh in on different thoughts of what they might do. We wanted to bring something new to the table for the TKO2 world. You'll see here, this mural hasn't been updated since April 2023, but that's fine. We wanted to bring something new to the table. We had heard over the years there were people that would always say game length felt a little long sometimes. So very early on, we said we want the game to just play faster. Anywhere that we can kind of tighten or just get right from one thing to the next, we're going to do that. So things like in the original TKO, there's that like character introduction. There's, a very lovely like cinematic monologue about what's happening. But those were all things we looked at to maybe just kind of squeeze into their purest form so you could get into the game. So we were looking at things like that. And very early on, we talked about other clothing items might be fun because people love making their battle items, and the idea of giving people more options early on, we were like, that seems like a fun thing for players to do. So we did a little bit of like zeroing in on what would those items be. I've said this in the past. We spent a long time talking about pants. A long
Hot pants.
time.
I remember
Hot
hot pants
pants.
coming up.
Underwear, that kind of
Socks.
thing. And socks was in the mix. The thing is, it's always been part of the TKO DNA that you can get in real life, what you make in the game. And not a lot of printers were willing to sign on with like where they would print it or how it would work. And it felt weird to have to be like, well, you can get some things, but not others. So that's why pants or boxers or the like stayed on the drawing board. This is really not like, you can see this is, I'll zoom in here. This is like a very early, once something was ready to go or seemed like in a good place, it goes in the board. So this is like this lovely battle animation done by one of our artists, Hero C, was in. Go back out. This is us talking about player can change garment. This was like a big deal for us, looking at what the controller might look like there. Shortly after that, we arrived at the idea of, I mean, the heart of TKO is people making their own things. And so we talked about what now is our round 2, where you can go back and change a drawing or fiddle with something that even someone else made. So we figured that all out right here. I know for a while we were looking at, because it's kind of like a battle universe, the idea of like resurrect a fallen warrior, like someone that was defeated. And then I think it was our lead artist, Hector Padilla, was like, but they already voted it out. So it's a shirt that lost, but it's going to come back again. Everyone was like, yeah, maybe that's not the most fun. So that was something that was early on in the mix. And then one of the final things is we wanted, we were looking at different things for our final round. And when you add like another chance to draw or write or whatever, it adds a lot of time. And so there, two of our big design ideas collided, because we really wanted to make the game feel kind of like fast, sleek, and fun. So to do like more drawing, writing during round 3 fell against that principle. And that was where we landed at. The two victors from round 1 and 2 go up against each other, and we have more of our like button mashing final round to decide the victor, because it was in line with our keep it fast, faster feeling than TKO, and stay in the battle world. And that's how we got to that. And then finally, I thought this was just fun to see. The dragon has more of a presence in TKO2, and this is just like an early animation of the dragon flying into. There was a meeting where we were like, are we really going to have the dragon wear the winning garment? Can we do that? And then Hero mocked this up, and we were just like, yes, we're absolutely doing that. So I think that is a visit into the world of TKO pre-production. I have one more thing to share, so I'm going to close down this stream by doing this. And then let me just open one more item, just because I thought this would be an interesting thing.
While you're opening it, can I just know who drew the sexy fish legs Mariah Carey shirt?
That is that's got to be Hector. And I think it was just like as a test image, because we were looking at new materials to have things printed onto, and we were like, well, we got to just have something so we can send them something. And he just whipped out that like beautiful drawing that we now have so many places throughout design.
There's a couple sexy fish leg Mariah Carey hoodies on the second floor. If you want to go pick one up.
Yeah. The origin of the sexy fish legs Mariah Carey is a live show that Hector drew it at the first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were doing live TKO at, I think, C2E2. And he drew it for the audience, and we saw the audience go crazy for it in the moment and realized we were really cooking with gas with that sexy fish legs. And so it became like a go-to. All right, this is one length of TKO shirt to demonstrate what the game does.
A lot of mileage out of just that one improvised shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was fun to share. I mean, when you're making a game, you're kind of moving quickly. Sometimes things don't go as planned. And one day we were looking at like our daily build of the game, and something had happened in the code where instead of one animation playing, every single animation played at once. And so I saved this just because it's completely chaotic. So if you're looking at this image now, and it's a ton of like placeholder art. You can see we're just like, a lot of it is like to be finished later. This goes on for like 20 minutes because they set the video up to record, and then later we're like, oh no, what have we done? So we didn't make a lot of progress that day, but then we made another build that night, and it was all better the next day. But I think that's hilarious. Okay.
Tim, I always thought that was your response to pacing's not fast enough, then here you go.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, what do you think of this? Just fast enough? Yeah.
Okay, closing this down. There's your peek behind the curtain of TKO2.
Oh my gosh. And you're being hacked from behind by CJ.
Was he sneaking up on me?
Wow, he was like a ghost. He's gone.
Sorry,
Was he
we
ever
used to
bigger
have
here?
the Sexy Fish original in the office, and I went looking for it. I couldn't find it, so
Oh,
I just stalked him instead.
Good.
wow.
Not for the first
Well,
time.
shall we make our own sexy fish leg Mariah Carey's in TKO 2, the final version? Okay, great. How I'm probably going to do this is I'm going to load into the game. I'm going to Slack you all the room code, and then I will share my screen with you so I don't reveal it to our audience, who, although they make great photos, is not playing with us today. Okay, let me load up the game. Do y'all have any favorite TKO designs that you've done that you can remember?
We've been very lucky with live shows. We had one from PAX that, because it was drawn live, did not become a shirt, but I'm thinking of trying to recreate it each time I play.
What was it? Or will you show it tonight in the art?
Oh, I can't draw it. That's my
Okay.
problem. Is I am not an artist by any means. I need to hire an artist to create me a TKO drawing, which is pretty sad.
Did anyone else do those like Jackbox employee created shirts? The Elite collection? Like I did mine with Bruno, so of course the drawing was fantastic, and the slogan was "I'm tired of apologizing." So that's a favorite.
I
like a
enjoyed
pride-
seeing them. I did not contribute to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also did some captions for one. I did the cameras off one.
I think that's a Hector drawing, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
We had a little while where our controller dev Ryan had like a demo controller that we were using and submitting drawings that then became right there. Did the drawings in the game if you don't submit anything?
Yeah.
Those were all made by random people in the office.
It's fun.
Yeah, if you want to access the many drawings that we submitted that are hidden in the game, just don't submit anything. There's a hack. And I can tell you, if you want one more TKO2 production story,
Please.
there was a point where I finally had to say, please stop submitting pizza drawings.
Sorry.
There was like, I know, a lot of them came from you, Chase, but then there'd be like a turtle with a slice of pizza for a shell and like a sheep with just a slice of pizza in the middle of it. Like there was just too much pizza everywhere.
Look, it's a bunch of people from Chicago. Everybody loves pizza.
Hang on.
I have a question for the team. Do you think that drawing in TKO with a stylus is cheating?
I think as long as you let everyone know what's happening,
Right.
and I'm playing with it.
Yeah, I've never really considered it, to be the case, especially for like, games like TK or Champed Up. It's like, yeah, absolutely, like go for it, right? Like I think some of the best shirts are like ones that are really well executed. But like, I draw the line though at like drawful, right? If you stylus drawful, no, that's bad.
Yeah, because it should be bad drawings. Drawful?
Yeah, because it kind of ruins like I don't think it ruins the gameplay of like TKO, but drawful it does, right? It kind of makes it easier to guess.
Yeah, it provides an unfair advantage. And I mean, like, you don't want the drawings to look that great in Truffle.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like we realize the constraints we have, like the average player is not going to be able to make an incredible like drawing, right? But like we've been working, especially with TKO2, it's like enhancing the tools to make things better than previous iterations because we want them to look as best they can given the
Yes, we wanted to find that balance. We did want people to have a little more drawing ability, but not too much, because you do want them to look a little homemade. And speaking of Champed Up, as you mentioned, like we've kind of borrowed this drawing style of the wide highlighter and then the thin kind of marker from Champed Up.
Ooh, 3 drawings.
Your time is halfway up to finish your first.
You can do
drawing.
it. There's a suggestion button, Abby, if you need it.
No way, I'm an artist.
Seconds left.
For your first drawing.
Seconds. If you haven't started,
Forgive me if you've already said this, but was there a reason why all the old characters are dead?
Haha. We talked about wanting it to feel like time had passed on the island. Like that was a thing early on. And for the record, in our mind, like they've transformed to something else. We didn't want to kill them off, but we like the idea like of they've assumed their next incarnation and still reside on the island while this new cast of characters has arrived. But it really came from the idea of like, okay, we're on the island, but it's later. What could be different? And we like the idea of like something has happened to the characters except the rabbit that survived and is kind of like the guide.
Ominous.
So they weren't brutally murdered. Is that what you're saying?
What I told the police, and it's what I'm telling you.
They weren't bludgeoned to death. Okay.
We have a couple questions from chat asking how y'all chose the avatars and if there were any that wound up on the cutting room floor. Any that you wanted to do,
A lot of
but
fighting. A
Really?
lot of fighting. Well, I mean,
This is
because
how the ghosts were created.
there's a lot of favorites in like our avatars over the years, and I think Hector kind of gave us his initial ideas, which were, I think, almost most of the avatars they're in, and a little bit of I think we even like polled the company. At one point we were like, we were down to like, we had space for 2 or 3 more, and we were like, who would you want? And that's how we got like the Zeeple in. There was a lot of love in the company for like, oh, we got to get the Zeeple in there.
10 seconds, wrap it up.
I know, like there was a lot of talk of like a trivia murder party doll.
If you haven't started your third
That'd be fun.
drawing,
Which one?
do it now.
And I think there was that. There were already so many of them, and there was already, I think, a bunch from that party pack. So that was one that came very close to the end. But like, I know since it was Party Pack 10, we wanted to like kind of celebrate the whole arc. We wanted to do an even spread,
So lean into it.
but that was one that came very close. And ones that like maybe didn't become player characters, people may have seen when the biplane goes by or the seaplane goes by in the background. It has a bunch of other ones that Hector was like, I don't think we have room to make these player characters, but we want to get them into the game. So there's some deeper cuts that go by in the airplane.
Are there any fun Easter eggs people can find?
Okay, I'm gonna try really hard to make the biplane go by to get that.
I know I'm doing that
I'm
too.
tapping.
I mean, one thing that hasn't been like talked about a ton, but yeah, like if you don't submit drawings, you'll get one of our drawings. Here comes the biplane. Oh, question 4.
Move forward.
My
Hector
my
wanted-
first pack.
That's actually like angry team
I got mine
4.
right here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Seconds.
Yeah. And Kern, right, made those.
Tim, what are some of the challenges that come from making a sequel to a beloved
10
game?
seconds left.
Well, a tricky one with this is you can't say like 800 new questions or like new drawing prompts. So we had to really look at like the structure of the game itself.
From each of you. Begin right
Um,
now.
and you know, people love this. I think like TKO has a lot of fans. So there was a little bit of pressure where it's kind of like make a new one, but don't wreck the one that people love. So, I mean, I'm sure we've made some enemies out there. I think not everyone immediately was excited about the original characters having assumed some new incarnation. But in the end, we decided we did want it to feel a little different. We're like, the world has progressed, and that was one way to do that.
You're halfway through your time. More seconds. It's time
Not
to
good.
get crafty.
All right.
A drawing and a slogan
Time to
make
build
the
this shirt.
Perfect garment from the choices you have. Begin
Or a hoodie.
now.
Or tank
Make
top.
sure to pick the garment
Or
and
tank
style
top,
that
yeah.
really suits your creation. Fashion and battle are about making decisions.
How did you decide on each of the font types?
We kind of first decided like categories, and we love the idea of classic, something that felt kind of professional, a childlike one, and then a script. And there were a few others in the mix that didn't quite make it.
You're halfway through your time.
There was like a medieval one that just didn't. When you shrunk it down, it was really hard to read. Brian Chard, our audio lead, found like one where every letter was on fire. But again, hard to read.
Go on.
What is said at many a 5K? The answer is yes.
Is that your elected?
I do say that a lot.
Yeah. It's your catchphrase.
I know, my desperation. It's my brand.
Hoodie takes it. Tank top throwdown.
Like these both.
Oh.
Ooh, tough.
Both things that Tim Sniffen have said today.
Ugh.
I can't tell if the rabbit's just like it's more of an attitude thing, or if it's literally like, please put some cabaret, like.
I think it's really funny because I keep reading it as a Cabernet cream egg, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's really clever. And I'm like, oh,
Well, right, yeah. There's definitely there's layers happening here.
Ready
yeah.
for more? Good, because it's happening. You're going to make one more drawing for me, but this time you can start fresh like before, or change a drawing from earlier. Make your choice now.
Somebody in chat asked, how do we come up with the names for our games? Do you want to speak about how you came up with the clever name for this one?
We edited too. There was a lot of, I mean, there was early talk about Tee K.O. And then I think marketing was like, no, can we just have it be Tee K.O? Like, people are going to be looking for Tee K.O. Let's not change that. Oh, these are gorgeous.
Float the alternate name for the original Tee K.O, which was All Shirt.
Yeah.
Good one.
There's another one that it's not family friendly.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All chosen. Now get to work. You may have noticed that your drawing system has an eraser. Use it!
Do you have, and this is maybe not info we'd want to reveal, do we have an over-under on how many shirts we have to unfortunately
You're
reject
gonna make me
in the
proud
shirt
with
store?
these.
You would
Oh,
have
that's
to
a
talk
great
to
question.
customer service person.
Yeah.
I can say that it is. It happens.
There's like one person in a basement reviewing all of them.
Hmm.
That
Sure,
poor
they-
person.
They're all just too wholesome. Is probably
Yeah.
the problem, right?
Yeah, you can also be rejected for not being funny enough. We have a lot of.
What does that process feel like, CJ?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Roasted.
that's why I'm always behind you, Tim.
And when there was one set of footprints on the sand.
It was Tim Steffen's 1 foot.
Begging for approval.
30 seconds left.
I think my favorite little detail in this game, I don't remember when it happens, is when the snake comes out with the t-shirt on.
Yes.
Now
Love that
just
snake.
There it
a few
is.
more
Oh, there he is.
Snake. Sleeves just hanging down.
Yeah.
Now. The suggestion button is still there if you need it, kids. Be aware, your time is halfway up. Seconds, wrap it up. Okay, have a look at your drawings. and
Have you got
slogans
10
and
slogans
assemble
in?
your
Oh my
I mean-
goodness.
Wow.
I really
feel like
I
I
have
played this
like 17.
Don't forget to choose the perfect garment and slogan style.
Hmm.
Okay, yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
These items are
Very
ready
good.
for battle. Begin the tournament. Fight. Vote now.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you
I
gotta,
mean, it
gotta,
barely fits in
yeah.
that box.
Yeah,
right?
I can hear it.
Yeah.
I like this shirt in pink.
Yeah.
Nice color.
Classic T for the win.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Clear runaway.
Well, just the simplicity of Haircut Bear.
I like the detail of just like, let's add a little reflection on those
Yeah.
pages, you know?
It looks like it's
Well.
been oiled up, so it'll
Let's
slip
leave
in.
it three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yes.
This stream turned very thirst trappy very quick.
Is your idea of a thirst trap, CJ?
I'm sorry. I mean, this is what normal people are into, right?
Bravo tournament winner.
That's
Hey,
big.
you're walking away with this game.
Let's keep it moving.
Ah, you've got a way with words, Abby.
Thank you so much. I love a good t-shirt.
You drew that, and your slogan is "Spank my butt."
The final
So,
That was-
Abby.
Fortuitous, let's say. Or I have a one-track
Well,
mind.
Who
I
could have
understand.
thought that could have gone that way?
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, it's gotta be. Ooh.
Pepper cream's getting wiped.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to
intended.
see.
Bye-bye, bunny.
All right, I'm gonna give it some points, just so it can hold its head up
Wait.
That's actually my catchphrase. I hope it comes up because I had bye-bye, buddy.
Presenting
For
your
real?
champion.
No. Oh.
Have you
No,
ever
Tim.
seen a finer garment? Don't answer.
Oh, you sweet child. No.
Laundry room, everyone.
Wow. Thank you for playing.
Mhm.
Any final TKO2 thoughts, Tim, before we move on to the next one?
This song
Yeah.
is incredible. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good
I know
lord.
we're moving on, but go back if you haven't played in a while. Go back and listen to that theme song. It's a banger.
I'm
I
still
had very
playing it on the
little-
stream.
Oh, great. I mean, yeah, it's a fun one.
Who wrote this song?
Oh well, Brian
Third
and
Eye
I. Sorry, Third Eye
Third Eye
Blind.
Blind. You got them.
They had the time. Their
Yeah, it was
tour van
pretty cool.
broke down in front of our house one night. Brian Chard and I wrote it together, and then I'm not going to remember the name of the singer right now. Brian found her and handled all the recording and all the like mixing and that. Yeah,
How
I
often
love
do
it.
we outsource like the singers? I know we do for voiceover sometimes, but
We kind of
don't know.
had like a go-to Finney, I think is the last name. Someone that Andy Poland, like a VP of audio, has like known for quite a while. I think through like Michigan, like I think college, like ties, maybe through Michigan State. But yeah, like a really great singer who's like in did like TMP, did God, a whole bunch of games. But not very. I don't think we've ventured beyond that kind of like that one like go to singer. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on name. Really, really talented. But yeah, I think maybe just a couple of times we've
Right.
branched out from that.
Well, shall we move on to Timejinx? I want to be conscious of time. We have about an hour left of the stream. I want to make sure we get to everybody. So, Timejinx, are we ready?
Yeah, sure. Let's dive. Okay, so let me share a very simple this will be I am glad to show a very simple thing because I want people to understand that when we do like paper testing now in our remote setting, it's like just using a whiteboard app. And so this is just Jamboard. This is just a Google Jamboard thing that Arnie Niekamp, our studio creative director, he's the person who pitched this game. And it's really fascinating because this is just like the one relic I think we really have of the paper test or the mural or the whiteboard app version of it. But it's enough to kind of talk through it and kind of tell you like what stayed the same and what changed. So yeah, so this time travel, like the time travel trivia game is what we called it for the longest time until Timejinx finally became our name. I'd say maybe a couple months into production. But yeah, the time travel trivia game, I would say let's start with the things that stay the same. Arnie pitched this concept that was basically around, selecting years that follow on a timeline. And he also had it's not evident on this page, but he also had like this secondary question type, which was like um try to fit into this era by choosing the right answer. So if it's like the 90s, it's like, hey everyone, I really love Dave Matthews Band, especially their new album. And then there'd be like three different choices. That's what the time hopping, that first kind of secondary question type eventually became, is just time hopping. So that was already in place, that cadence of like a game loop of like put answers on a timeline and then also choose multiple choice options. So that was that fundamentally stayed the same. That was a really good rhythm because like you obviously don't want to just enter years, or you don't necessarily just want to enter multiple choice. It kind of provided some nice variety of gameplay. So that stayed the same. And then some things that we definitely changed throughout the course of production, I'd say fundamentally would just be like scoring and how like the timeline works. So the example you see here, I don't know if you can see it super well, but like when we play tested it, literally had like a 200 or 300 year span to which you could put your answer. Those were the guardrails. So essentially not much of a guardrail. It was like it could fall anywhere. So that was something we kind of quickly changed just because of that feeling of some players like, it's kind of nicer to have some smaller guard or bigger guardrails so that there's smaller choices to kind of like guess, on. So we changed that, and we also changed scoring. Arnie had like this kind of elaborate scoring system. You would basically, it was a cool concept and everyone loved it, but it was like the years off you were on the timeline is basically the years you progressed as a player. So if you see on the far right, all these sticky notes are like, so for example, Rich on top here was 50 years old. Kurt below him was 95. So your age kind of, aligned with your score. But then you could like max out at 100, and then you start over on another tier, and then you're earning money, which in the prototype is euros, which I think a very interesting choice. Um, so it was just a lot going on there. So we knew kind of like that was one of our first directives, like in after this got greenlit, was just to kind of streamline that. And so that was another big change, was we added, smaller timelines, and then the thinking was the number of years off is your score, and then the secondary question type offers this opportunity to reduce that by offering a percentage of that being decreased. So it's just this nice kind of cadence of your score goes, balloons up. If it decreases, it goes up, decreases. So that stayed the same too. And one thing that we tried to keep the same was this mechanic at the time you'll see on the sticky notes on the left side, there's time tethered there. And what that was taking was basically matching players that were doing really well with those that were not doing well. And you were basically tethered, so you'd be answering another timeline question, but your score would basically find the average between the 2 years that you entered, and you both would go to that year on the timeline. Just as an opportunity, as a catch-up mechanic for those not doing so great. But for various reasons, that didn't test very well, and so then we had to kind of pivot on our final round, which we changed to look in the future, because it was a time traveling game. We wanted to have something that was set in the future. So I think that's kind of a long-winded way of saying those are the kind of fundamental things that we kept the same. The structure was overall the same, but then just like scoring and ways in which we use the timeline were different. And then we just kind of added on to those secondary question types. We found one very early on, which was the spot the imposter, pop up question type, and then we were just building on as much variety as we could for secondary question types. So I think that's it. Oh, and also I early on I had a pitch. I just because I know the people watching would be curious of originally I was like, the thinking was this would be Cookie. Just thinking because this was Pac-10, was that this was Cookie Masterson going back in time and dealing with himself as like a really moody teenager. So it'd be like a dual host of Cookie dealing with themselves as a really terrible brat. But yeah, did it go through? And I think ultimately for the better. But I just the little
As we
tidbit.
saw in the Flash movie, that is not the choice to make.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Flash ruined it. I mean, that's what did it. Cool. Are there any questions, Abby, from people?
My favorite scrapped idea from Timejinx was that at one point you were going to name it Timejinx too. And I love that idea.
Right. Which kind of goes to Harry Gottlieb, I think, who's the founder of the company, I think, like early on in the pack days, wanted to just skip a number of a pack. So for example, if we went from pack 5 just to pack 7, just to
Yes.
which is I love it. I love it conceptually, but also it's just like, yeah, it's kind of problematic in terms of like how we would market things. But yeah, we did kind of have that as one of the contenders, was like Timejinx 2, but for the similar reason, they were like, no, make this one just Timejinx. Okay.
Can you explain the horse in this?
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, so that was another thing. Artie had like I think ultimately we tried to make it a little bit more accessible. Like I think Arnie had some really fun kind of like questions he would pose, but like one of them was just like this horse, and I don't know how much more I can't really zoom in on it, but it's he would just show a painting, like like not a painting that you should know, not like an iconic, like The Kiss or something, and he would just be like, when was this painted? And that was it was fun to guess, but it would be I mean, the answers would be so wildly different, and it felt so just like arbitrary, because it's like, we're not supposed to know when this horse was painted. Like, what are we even using is like, context clues, like the type of paint being used. Like, that seems too hard. But yeah, it was a fun question, but it also like proved to be too difficult to ask people.
Well, great. Shall we hop into the game?
Let's do it.
Can you give us some more behind the scenes as we play? Trying to see if there are any questions coming in from chat. If we see anything that's fun. We do we go back and update any of the old trivia in the old trivia games, or is it just always looking ahead on our new ones?
It depend. I mean, we won't like add content. We'll change content. If in a rare case something isn't factually correct, we make that change, and then when there's like an update to that build that needs to be pushed, that content will also be updated. So we're trying to make like quality of life improvements that way, but yeah, we're not going back and adding content.
Yeah, very often if something is perhaps time sensitive, it will often be like, as of 2020, who's won the most Oscars, for example, or whatever.
How did you decide on each avatar?
Yeah, so Steph Egan, who was one of the lead artists on this game, once we kind of figured out, the general aesthetic to the game, it was really just a matter of we just made a long list of era type of inspired figures basically, and then we kind of just set some rules where it's like having some type of accessory, to them as well, that either hides their face or their head. So yeah, it was really just, I think maybe we had I think she might have concepted 15, and I think we just chose our favorite 10 out of those. But we were just trying to get a variety of different eras.
We have a question. What was the hardest minigame in Timejinx? I'm gonna guess that's either hardest to play or hardest to come up with.
Hardest to, well, maybe hardest to execute. We actually had we had a lot of ideas in terms of question types. That was kind of the easy part of it. I think maybe the one that took probably the most time was the spotting the imposter, just because that involved a lot of finessing with the art and making sure the questions fit and everything. But time hopping was pretty straightforward, but it was just involved. It also involved host files, so between one of those two.
Is it hard to come up with a new concept for another trivia game? How do you make it feel fresh?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it is, but it isn't. I think trivia is one of our studio's strengths, just because historically it's what we've done for the beginning.
Your score is how many total years you're
nice
off
job,
on these missions.
JCJ.
The lower, the better.
Feels good.
Time for a new
I think
task.
it's harder from just a pitching concept than once we have an idea and can kind of run with it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot. There's a lot that have been pitched over the years.
You work on this game, CJ?
I mean, I listened to podcasts about both those things within the last 2 months. Also, Chernobyl was a year after I was born, so it's pretty easy to remember. See, this one I have no idea. This is where I'm going to lose it all.
I was just listening to a podcast about Supreme Court rulings on fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Very niche. It's a very niche podcast.
It's all you talk about.
How do the writers find what to ask a question about, or where they find their trivia?
We would have, when you first start a game like this, you're not trying to put any constraints on the writers. It's literally like, let's just fill in as much as we can to begin with. Cast a wide net. Thank you very much. But then once we kind of have approved questions, that's when we kind of get into more of like, hey, we're good on questions now from like the 90s and 80s. You know, let's focus on questions that pertain to like, you know, early 20th century. So it really kind of like, once we just get that initial batch or two of content, then we kind of like have a more focused approach about what we need.
Don't forget, respond like someone from the decade. This is what you should have said.
Yeah, it is also very like
And the
bucket
audience thought
of
this.
content of no matter what you're doing, it's like, okay, we've done enough blank questions. We probably need more science, more sports, and then you can just kind of spend the day looking at that. And what's good is if it's a category you're not very good at, the things you vaguely recognize, being like, okay, that feels like something people can guess around.
Fun fact too, the individual who just read that line is Hector Padilla, who was referenced earlier as the lead artist on Tee K.O.
Let's keep the party
That's
going
right.
in a
Who
new decade.
honestly I think is like our hidden gem for VO talent.
Sorry it's so
Yeah.
quiet. Apparently
Actor's
there's
so
a
good.
Snorlax in the bathroom.
Real smooth.
Very smooth, very natural, just does great line reads.
I think that's one of the fun parts of making these games is that we find team members from different teams all over. Like
You managed to blend in.
we have all kinds of different skills at the company, and then you don't know. Oh wow, this person is really good at that, and nice to get to jump into another
Let's see
person's
who's winning
project
with
too.
the lowest score.
Yeah.
That was a weird sentence. It's the second round already. Wow, time flies. On to the next mission.
Oh gosh.
Punch in your dates now.
I think double stuff, too much stuff. I said it.
Ah, I agree. Not enough F's.
Exactly.
Too much stuff.
The same person that
Here's
enjoys
where each of you
Cadbury
went
cream,
with
the
time.
giant gloppy mess of Cadbury
Right.
cream
Oh,
thinks
yeah,
it's too much stuff.
That's a great call out, Tim.
This
That's a great
doesn't
call out.
check out, Abby.
Man,
I don't know what to
roasted.
believe.
Wow, you're in cahoots with the audience.
They love me. We understand
New
each
mission
other.
Coming
I
at
love your
ya.
foot.
Pow, pow.
I think Timejinx, more than the other trivia ones, makes me feel like I know nothing about history.
I also have ones where the question will come up and be like, I have no idea. Like, I'm so glad Spencer the Game has sort of the guardrails of like,
I was gonna
it's
say,
within
imagine now
this-
if there was like, you enter any year possible.
Here's the
Yeah.
next mission.
Oh, that's a great prompt.
Yeah. We were talking about like trivia, and it is like the difference between something you should know versus something that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question from Savvy Sage. Any fun little bugs you came across during development of Timejinx?
Oh, fun bugs. Not. I don't think we had anything as fun as like that TKO2 kind of I don't know marathon of fast
Chaos.
Watch out.
cuts.
You're in a
Yeah.
time loop. You're going to answer 2 questions twice in
I'm
a
trying
row.
to think if
You
there
can either
was.
change your
Oh,
answer,
probably
or if you're
yeah.
really
Probably the
confident,
imposter
keep it the same.
questions when
Each time you get it
the
right,
mouse
I'll
would
lower your
move
score.
either
You
just
got this.
like
Hopefully.
be like just once going up and down or like moving extremely fast. That's
It's
probably
called
the most fun
science.
bug we
Grow
had.
up.
Hmm.
Oh,
See, there's one of those as of 2023.
2023, yeah.
Yeah.
We cover bases.
I would be shocked if she's in another one, but you never know.
Yeah.
Time loop. Answer the same
Never
or
discount
differently.
Rapinoe.
It's up to you.
Rapinoe?
Here's some stats to help you ponder.
Good question. I think it's
How did you come up with the art style? Sort of freezer look.
Yes, good question. We were
Oh.
so everything was kind of we were thinking from like the immediate environment. So this is like Jerry Rigg, our host, is hosting this like she's this mad scientist type. She's hosting this in her basement. So we kind of were just going off of that in terms of everything in that space needs to be kind of used. So we were, we did a lot of brainstorming of like, what would naturally be in a space because it's just kind of a casual game night kind of happening. And so that's where like the fridge came from, and then it was like a modified fridge, right? So that, but then we realized like, it's still like a little weird of a read. So I love to do like the most Jackbox thing possible, which is just like being self-aware about it. It's like there's a host line there of like, yeah, it takes place in a fridge. Yeah, I know it's weird, but it makes a lot of sense.
Quick heads up. If you're not doing so hot, you'll be
But it did
receiving
come
some
from a
hints
place
from
of
your
logic,
future
is
self.
what I should say.
You're probably asking, why doesn't my future self just
I
tell
thought it
me
was
the
a
answer?
reference to the Back to
Well,
the Future
that's between
refrigerator
you two.
controversy.
Well, there you
Drama.
go. And it's also open for how you want to.
Yeah.
What's the Back to the Future controversy?
Punch
The
in those
time
numbers,
machine in Back to
baby.
the Future was originally a refrigerator, but this was in the midst of kids climbing into refrigerators and getting stuck in them.
Oh.
So they changed it because refrigerators used to lock.
Oh. Very one.
Yeah, so they said you can't do. But there's lots of differences in Back to the Future original script. But I do remember. I think there's some other game that does a time traveling
Where did you
refrigerator
tweet,
as an
Simba? Let's
homage.
see.
Lead gas here.
Whoa. That was also fun thinking that, like, having to have every single layout, having like 8 players, Jinx.
Right.
Guys, I think we might have
Whose
snapped
cat
through
is
here.
that?
That alarm means there's an imposter running around. We gotta fix
That
this.
is just
Yes,
a
the real Julius Caesar and
from
his
whatever
evil clone from an alternate timeline are
library
here.
we use. But we didn't actually record like on
Don't get fooled
site
by
for
the
a cat.
imposter. Save the
But I wish
real
we did.
one. If you spotted the imposter, congrats.
And Spencer,
I'm
this
lowering your
is
score.
Layla as the host, right?
That's right. You would
This is
also
the host is
know-
Layla Gorstein, who is currently on the Second City
That was
ETC
weird.
show in
Moving
Chicago.
on.
Oh, I didn't know
Well.
that. Great.
I
Yeah.
got you all a little something. It's a new mission.
Who's also very good friends with Claire McFadden, who former writer
Hmm
Jackbox.
I find the Timejinx music so soothing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Great vibes.
Yeah, Elise Watman. Whoa.
Because we're right.
Whoa!
I think it's because we're right, Abby.
Woo!
we're
My
right.
first one.
We also did spend a bunch of time on just like the
Moving
finessing
on.
the reveal, right? Like there were
It's
a
very
bunch
good.
of different approaches to how we were gonna do that.
Oh.
Tim, how are you still in the teens?
I'm young at heart. I think I forgot to answer that one. Oh boy, I blew it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow. This is
Not
one of those with
anymore.
a wide spread. I'm like, ugh, I'm gonna go right in the
Yeah.
middle, honestly.
We have some
Well, that was another
cleaning
thing
up
too.
to
You
do.
know, obviously early
Your
on, it's
actions
like
have
we
altered
needed to
the
have
course
answers that are
of
going to fall in one end of
history.
the spectrum or
Let's
not.
fix
So it's
it.
not just this like, well, just always put in the middle and you'll,
Right.
always be really close. Like we had that was a discovery early on. It's like, oh right, we need to really change the variation of where the right answer lies.
Mhm.
So Paris Newton was the editorial lead, and she did such a great job, especially with these question types.
Let's see how you're
Abby
all
doesn't
shaping
know
up.
racehorses. Okay.
Yeah, how does everyone know that? Is that like a normal thing to know about?
I mean, I don't know where you grew up, but I mean that was like elementary school. We
Let's
had that.
visit.
You guys were all
class.
betting on the horses.
Yeah.
I love the Tommy McGuire classic Seabiscuit, and Manowar is his competitor in that film.
Mm.
It
We have
wasn't
time
Father
for one
Longlegs.
final task. And this time,
That's my
we're
nickname in
headed
college.
to the future.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, I'm way off. I just realized.
You're not way off. Or yeah, maybe you did.
Only
I don't know. I can't speak for you.
Don't worry.
Can't wait to get
Only
that ocean
This
flip
timeline is
next.
credit only.
Tim can speak for me because he can hear, he can see me what I write down from his position.
Audience and I were thinking the same.
Yeah, that's. Yeah,
Oh yeah, CJ. Yes, you were.
Now,
Oh,
Yes!
Tim! Clutch!
I needed this.
You...
Oh, CJ, so far off, humiliating.
Hmm.
drum roll, please. Damn, I forgot to hire a drummer. Damn.
I love that second
Yeah.
Dan.
The second dam is what makes it. Yeah.
Time to find out who won.
Do you have any fun behind the scenes info about Jerry? A lot of people in chat want to know.
Congrats. This basement is legally yours now.
About Jerry. Oh, you know,
Let's see how
I
you
shared this
fare.
picture with you. It might be in a blog post, but I will. Here, just give me a second.
Okay.
So we had this like funny, like we just, as anyone knows here, it's like towards the end of production, you start to get a little delirious, you and the team. And we had this ongoing kind of like inside joke of like, I don't know how it originated, but it just originated, that we should have Sinbad, the comedian from the 80s and early 90s, be in the game somehow. And like we should do an entire episode just about Sinbad related content. And anyway, obviously that did not come to fruition. But what did come to fruition was this amazing jerry rig next to Sinbad that Steph Egan, who again was one of the lead artists on this game, designed and then put into like a little statuette form. So there it is. There's Jerry and Sinbad. So now it's canon. They're good pals. There you go.
Wow. Amazing.
Love it.
Thank you.
The most, yeah, I love that like monotone. Wow.
I was being sincere.
Mm.
Wow.
Really cool. Thanks for the behind the
I
scenes
think
fact.
that wow matches it. I think that wow matches it. That's good.
Okay, for the sake of time, I want to make sure we get through everyone's old Jamboard version. So we're going to do that, and then if we have time at the end, we're going to go back to the actual games. Does that work for everyone? Just so we don't go over too much. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I forgot to see what was up next in the actual game, so let's do Hypnotorious.
Hello, I am Hypnotorious, the person. No, I was the editorial lead for Hypnotorious, which is the writing of therein of. For those of you unfamiliar, Hypnotorious was our comedy / hidden identity game in Jackbox Party Pack 10. I'm going to also show a Jamboard, which gives you an idea. A lot of people ask when we create Jackbox games how we paper test them, and this is how. Does everybody see that Jamboard?
Yes.
This is originally starting for Hypnotorious. The game was called Us and Them. That's why I have to mention the name of Ramel Jen, who was the original person who pitched this idea. This was their idea. This was not my idea. Ramel is also in the editorial team in Jackbox Games. I have somebody bugging up behind me, and there they go. So the original conception, it does bear a striking resemblance to the end product, although it took a while to get there. This is one of the original games of that original pitch. And it's the idea that if you have not played Hypnotorious, you'll be assigned a identity of some sort. For example, you could be assigned either a fruit, a vegetable, or a candy. So one of you could be an apple, a carrot, or a Mr. Goodbar, my favorite candy. And your job is to answer questions as your new identity without people completely figuring out what you are. In the original game, your goal was to kind of hide and eliminate what was called the outliers. So if there were 6 of us, the majority of us could be fruits, and our goal would be to find who's the vegetable and who's the candy. We also had an early version. If you were in one of the smaller groups, you could switch. You could change your identity to try and avoid if you felt people were on top. And our games looked like this. You can see our players here. You can see Hector, who is the hidden theme of all of our games today. We're playing were they cakes, pies, or pizzas? And you would answer questions like this. You'll notice one big editorial change between the original was that we limited your answers. We had questions like, in one word, what are you served from? In 2 words, what's something you wish you were better at? This gives an indication of when we paper test the Jackbox games, we kind of feel what's working and what isn't. Originally, Us and Them, later Hypnotorious, was more hidden identity, less comedy. The goal was to kind of be very subtle with your answers and really try to figure out who everybody was. But as we played, we realized that people kept gravitating towards the longer answers because they wanted to make jokes with their identity. So we kind of changed that. In this round, you can see cat, dog, or mouse. And this is, once again, you're playing as fictional characters and answering as either a famous pop culture cat, famous pop culture dog, or famous pop culture mouse. You can look at the answers here and try to suss out what you think each one of these was. Once again, when it comes to the editorial of this, a few things that we started to notice was, people kind of enjoyed being imaginary characters more than objects. And so if you played the final Hypnotorious, you might notice on your controller, you get a brief description of what you are. And what became kind of an editorial mandate is if you got something that didn't have a personality per se, such as if you were appliances and you were a toaster, the editorial goal was not to explain what a toaster was to you, because odds are you knew what it was, but to give it some sort of personality, such as you are a dependable kitchen feature, or if you are a knife, you are a dangerous tool used by seasoned professionals. You went a lot of adjectives to kind of give things personality so you know how to play them. And then when it came to things like pop culture, and you can see that in the 3rd round here, are you a hero, villain, or side character? Do people dress up as you? And this is not the answer. We have to go with the fun things, as what I love to say is predicting the nerd debates, such as hero, villain, or side character. Well, if you're going by the 1993 Super Mario Brothers, Luigi is clearly the protagonist, for he is the one who has the goal. So is he the side character or the hero? So we had to try to figure out, if you're dividing them into 3 categories, how to properly define these 3 categories and have something to back it up. So a lot of this, in almost every hidden identity game, you have to anticipate how players can play it to make it balanced. We had the fun extra task and editorial of anticipating what are characters that people are going to instantly recognize and know how to play. This is not a trivia game where we're trying to make you guess who Luke Skywalker is. Instead, we're trying to say, like, you know who Luke Skywalker is, you can answer questions as them. You know who Ursula is, you can answer questions as them. So we had to really kind of go through is like, who are the titans of pop culture that the majority of the world recognized, which was also really fun because we had international versions of this game, which led to me like perusing Netflix numbers in other countries to see what were the most watched movies and TV shows there, to kind of figure out which characters might work in other countries and what concepts. So like even like fast food chains, you have to kind of anticipate, if I say you're a Wendy's, do people in Germany have any idea what Wendy's is, etc. And so that was a lot of the fun when it came to creating the editorial here. And as you can see in the final game, we don't have the try to eliminate the smaller numbers. It was just try to figure out which group you're in. And then there was just one person who didn't fit into a group. And the goal was just to find them, as opposed to a majority minority thing. It was just two groups. And then the third group was the single outlier. And that was devised through all paper tests like this, where we played different things and answered different questions. And that is the end of how I spent my summer vacation.
Wow, great. If there are any Hypnotorious questions from chat, I would love to hear them. I have a question as far as, were you always going with like real IPs when thinking of who the characters were? I mean, y'all have sort of more vague things too. Just like, what are the legalities of like choosing real characters versus?
You can reference things and you don't have to worry about like saying Mickey Mouse and having Disney sue you or whatnot. Because once again, we're just saying you are Mickey Mouse. They may answer for them. We're not saying anything bad about Mickey Mouse or whatever. And that was something to be taken up in the descriptions, especially when it came to you're playing real people sometimes. So I know Sniffen has a long-standing feud with John Goodman, but he had to leave his personal opinion behind and just describe the man's accolades.
Unprofessional.
Yes. And of course, we also did things like Greek gods. We did things like characters from folklore and stuff like that don't have that kind of concern. We tried to hit a little bit of everything. And to Spencer's point about writing trivia is sometimes it's like, okay, we've done enough Avengers. Like, it's tempting because once again, the global box office for that is huge. So when you're looking for an international market, those are kind of the movies you hit are the ones that did really well overseas. But you still try to really mix it up.
Can you speak to sort of the hypnosis angle and where that was born from?
Yeah, it's the idea we had early on was, I believe, I don't know if I want to speak to what the early theme was so much, because sometimes we reuse those themes if they come back. But there was a different thing originally pitched. But it became the idea of you have become this person. So very early, brainwashing was a feature. But we've done a lot of sciencey ones before. In just even like the most recent pack role models, because it has like a science feel to it, and non-sensory has a science feel to it. So we wanted to figure out a way to manipulating minds. And so we kind of went for the more old-timey vaudeville Hypnotorious. However, the brainwashing aspect stayed in that the avatars are little brains drawn by Owen, our artist, which the brain drawings had quite an argument among, should we leave their brain stems on or not? Is that too grotesque?
There were surveys circulated
There are
in
surveys.
the studio about this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, when it comes to things like you talking about
Maybe
like names.
Yeah. Big feelings
when it comes
about the brain.
I'm pro brainstem because once again it allows them to point. It allows them to it makes them a little bit more animated than just a blob of a brain.
I personally think the brainstem is gross, and I wish I had a say in the matter at the time.
Listen,
it was
you
actually
should have been
tied.
here.
Your vote would have tipped the scale.
Why it's important to vote.
If you hate brain stems, then don't dig too deep into what goes into a Cadbury cream egg. Is all.
Oh, yep.
Look, I would eat a brainstem any day of the week, okay? I don't want to know how a hot dog's made. It's delicious. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, great. Are there any other fun facts? We love knowing if there have been fun bugs. Can you remember any fun bugs?
Fun bugs. Not There were no fun bugs. No, because a lot of this, we were actually one of the last games approved for Jackbox Party Pack 10. So a lot of our stuff early on is the only bug is the first month in, it had almost a completely opposite playing style, when you tried to guess individual identities and write it out, which was a nightmare for editorial, because anytime you had to write in an answer, we had to anticipate the most common misspellings or alternates, such as if the answer is Spider-Man, it's like, okay, we have to accept Peter Parker, like, so a lot of stuff like that. And then when we took that out, it was a huge relief on editorial, but it means we had to change our software of what kind of answers were submitted. And so, yeah, for the back end for editorial is when it comes into writing in the game, we have internal software for that. And every time we change gameplay, that changes the form of submission. So sometimes we lose or add the content that way. And that was just a real fun back and forth as we play tested. My personal favorite thing about this is because I had to anticipate like what does the common audience view these characters as in categories? Throughout this process, I would write to my wife the most random questions, because like she was always kind of my like, this is not somebody who's in game design, this is somebody's like, I'd be like, do you consider Freddy Krueger a ghost? And just I would send her questions like that throughout the day.
Did she consider him a ghost?
Yeah. He is in the ghost category. If you're playing Hypnotorious and you clock somebody's Freddy Krueger, put him in ghost.
Fascinating. I gotta rewatch those movies. Anyway, CJ, thank you so much. Shall we move on to FixyText?
Sure, let's do that. All right. So let's see. In the same vein as some of the previous projects, we started super basic for one of the games that had the biggest sort of technological improvement for Jackbox, which was FixyText, our text editing game. So I will be sharing the very exciting thing, which is a Google document. So here goes. Let's see. Can y'all see this fascinating slideshow right here?
Looks good.
Great. So the thing with FixyText was it is one of our games where for several years we've been wanting to make a game where different people can write in the same box at the same time. There were all kinds of different ideas that had come around that, and we juggled with those things. And somehow between our tech prototypes and the wonderful comedic mind of Liz Anderson, who pitched this idea, we came with an idea of a conversation game where people would be answering your texts or somebody else's texts for them. And so this deck was how we tested it out before we had a prototype, which was essentially asking our very talented engineering team to replicate Google Docs, which is a no small feat. So what we did here, we'd have our little intro. Texting is stressful. Let's spice it up. You're gonna be in a box together, and you can't delete and you can't backspace. So that was an important part of creating a mixture of chaos, collaboration, surreal word salad. And so this is how we tested it. Essentially, we would start by putting people in two different groups, and then we'd say, all right, first off, we tried to make it a conversation, but there wasn't any sense to it. So we would give the same prompt to both groups, and a very basic prompt, so that people would say, okay, we're in the same conversation. Well, let's say we're picking a category, could be flirty, could be random caller. This is going to be a professional category, and we're going to be answering some relatively boring professional text. How do we turn that into something interesting? And then each group would sort of start the clock with this little text. And this is one of the things that would happen after 30 seconds. From we're out of copy paper, we get to we're all outside being hit by meteors made of copy paper, the hot kind. So that would be one of the things that we found early on when we tested these things out, was that it was really, really fun to watch other people write, which is why FixyText is one of those games where you don't have everybody playing at the same time, and that kind of helped us balance the frenzy, because both it's fun to write words together. It can be a little stressful when you have the clock, you see the cursors move along, you're trying to fit in words here and there. So we wanted to give people a break in between. So first couple of people would write, others would watch, then the people who had been watching would vote, and then the second group would write. Another thing that we found was, okay, to not have these things too separate, we would eventually want to bring back some things from the first group into what the next group was going to be answering to, so that there was some level of a narrative that was being built, even if at the end of the day, a big part of the game is finding those inside jokes that other people in your friend group are going to laugh about. So if you know that you're answering some random business text, but you know that you're going to try and get people to vote on words that you have written, you know, one of the friends likes to watch RuPaul's Drag Race, you might write something about RuPaul's wigs. So that was a way for us to see what people did naturally. And that was sort of the very, very basic level. And we tried different things. So we wanted there to be a variation. That wasn't all that you were going to do, was inputting things to text. So our second round, we would give people specific missions of things they would have to insert or that they could use as inspiration. You can't see this here, but you'd start with the same thing. Potentially, you're still talking to your boss who ran out of copy paper, and he's writing you something else. And so people would get they would get things like, you are a fish, or you are a Victorian orphan, or you're somebody stuck in the walls. And what that did was that gave a little bit more of a combative feeling. So people would be trying to insert their specific mission, and you'd get things like stretching worms and walls and fishy, and like it gave people something to latch onto. But it also meant that when you were trying to change somebody else's words, since you can't backspace, there was some really interesting stories that would come out of it. So we tried that out. And the last thing we tried was trying to get, so then you'd get a bonus if people voted for your mission was the one that was the strongest in the text. And then the last one, you'd have everybody writing together in the same letterhead, which you would then have more time to do. But you can see here, this is what you'd start with, very bland. And then you'd end up with writing to Mommy Dearest Naughty Puppy's legal counsel. Kurt is one of our well-loved colleagues who works in legal, and so Kurt showed up. So people would reference things from other people they knew. People would use their missions, and all of these things had potential. But as we played more of the game, we could see that there were sort of two games happening here. One of them was a little bit sort of find the mission, find the agenda. It was a little bit more of a detective game. And the other was, how do I write things, influence other people to write things, and basically create private jokes that, you know, weeks, months later, your friends are going to be coming up with words that they have made with you in this game. And so we realized within the scope of something that has to be very short, that fits within a pack, we couldn't have the gameplay be too complex, and we really wanted to lean into what makes it a group game rather than you're trying to be the best at, you know, bringing in some agenda that our writers would have given you, that you could make it your own, and you and your friend group would really influence the kind of messages that would happen. And yeah, that's how we started it. But there were a lot of laughs from the beginning, and also a lot of how would you say, a lot of good sort of puzzles for us as designers to see how do we write interesting but not too interesting text And how do we make it so that you don't have people just choose one part of the text and they go around? And so that's where having things like cursors moving or writing text that had intentional pauses in between really helped people really influence different parts of their friend's work and not just say, I'm going to grab the beginning, I'm going to grab the middle, and do it like that.
Great. Thank you. FixyText is a really specific art style. Do you want to speak a bit to sort of how that evolved?
Yeah, definitely. So this is to the credit of Bruno. Bruno Rodriguez is one of our super talented artists who worked on things like Fibbage 4, Talking Points, Push the Button. And what was really fun was our conversations with Bruno up front. We wanted something that felt technical, but also old school. So we wanted the game to feel like these are the bugs in the machine. Really, you are the bugs in the machine. The machine is kind of analog. It kind of has a life of its own. So we went together and looked at old machines. We were looking at sort of old phones, old printers, and then we found things that were kind of in the print graphics world from like the 70s. Some Italian illustrators from the 70s who had these gorgeous illustrations for printer manuals, literally. And so we thought, okay, this is a really nice basis. And there was a really nice conversation between Bruno and our musician Kelly Shuda, who were seeking out this kind of archival technology history and using them as inspirations for the music. So the beatboxes from the 70s were used as basis for some of our repeating sounds, as well as print graphics from the 70s. So there was a bit of that. And we thought about ASCII art at some point, and we realized we still wanted to give it a little bit more dimensions because there's so much words and so much text. So having those colors, having simple shapes, there's some, I think, product designers that make toys out of wood that were inspirations for Bruno as well. So that was all sort of coming together. So we had this sort of flat but three-dimensional surreal world, and you were going to be part of this crazy machine. That's how it came about.
Great. I feel like Jackbox has a lot of games that the player provides the material. How do you set the player up for success and being like, we'll have some things, but we want to make sure you have something fun to write about, something that your friend group will find funny. Like, how do you find the balance?
Yeah, so that was a really good work from the writers in that we found categories that were things that people could all relate to. So having some weird person at the gym like hit on you or something, or calling for your pizza and some other random thing shows up. So it was taking funny and kind of usual, but still weird things that would happen in daily life and using those as bases. So I think it was definitely a big improvement when we had a series of characters that kind of emerged from writers having these very short constraints of you can't write too much, but you have to write things that have personality. So you're going to have to write about your aunt who doesn't know how to plug in her new Mac computer, or you're going to write there's going to be some kind of tension, some kind of ridicule, some kind of conflict in your characters, but they have to be somewhat relatable. So there was a lot of honestly very good prompts from Liz, and just a lot of jamming there. I wonder, Tim, if you have any thoughts on that, because I think quite a few writers were pulled in to give their input to some of the characters in FixyText.
I think I like added a little bit here and there. I mean, it was fun kind of just having weird. I I still love when I get random texts, and I feel like there's a new wave of like incredibly personal text that you'll get on your phone, like, "Hey, I'm here. Are you running late?" And you're very compelled to be like, "Who is this?" So, I love leaning into the random, like the little bit that I weighed in on this kind of stuff, because the people could just be so completely bizarre sounding and still sound on brand for what texting is like these days.
Yeah, we really love the random category. I think that's one, both art and writing and music, that That isn't, a lot of people first go to the flirty category. So yeah, for folks who haven't played FixyText, you can choose one of 4 categories to have sent to you, to your friend group to answer. So you have flirty, you have business, you have family and friends, and then you have random. And random really is full of hidden gems like that. So yeah, I'd encourage people to check it out.
Great. Thank you so much. Last but not least, we still have time. Dodo Re Mi.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
okay to go over a little bit. If anybody else cannot, feel free to go. But I'm
Yeah.
here for the long haul.
Cool. Yeah, so with Dodo Re Mi, I'll probably show the prototype in a minute. It was for a long time called Nopus Opus, and I still actually call it that a lot of the time. But so if I say that, that's what I mean. But so yeah, I guess for a long time we're fans of the genre of music games, and it's kind of been floated around for a while that we might like to see what it's like to make a music game. And so then with this, we knew pretty early that what we wanted was kind of an experience where players were making music together, and we really wanted that sound to be coming out of your device, so that when you're in a room together, you're kind of like making music together. Um, and so unlike most of these other games, the early prototypes were figuring out the gameplay. And for Dodo, we roughly knew the gameplay, but we had to prove it would actually work. Because we even weren't totally sure at the beginning. So we needed to prove out that, like, using phones as controllers, could we actually play a music game together that wasn't complete chaos? And the 2 big ideas that we wanted to prove out was this idea of the sync up. So what became tap, tap, tap originally was like a 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. And the point of that is that if you're not in the same space, as long as we all tap, tap, tap together to our own screen, our music in the end will be synced up. And then we also had this playback mechanic, which was solving, if we're in the room together, we're playing music together, that's all fun. But if we're on stream like this, the game plays back what you did as if we were in the same room, which kind of gave you that same experience, even if you were remote, which is something that we care a lot about these days. So yeah, so then we were Party Pack 10 Time to Pitch was coming up, and I think I basically disappeared for December of 2022, and I built this prototype, and it mostly works, I think. So I thought I would show that off. I would be shocked if we have audio, but maybe we will. Let's see if I share the application.
How common is it for these games to have like a prototype ready to go, sort of at pitch, versus a paper test?
I think it really depends
If there's
a tech thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus
Yeah,
like a writer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's probably easier to do them this way than Jamboard.
Some things I obviously necessitate it, right? Like you can't, like Chase couldn't just pitch this concept, whiteboard.
I will say this was a very early photograph that went around a lot. This was the vibe of the game from the beginning.
That's great.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so we're going to be going to this prototype controller that we all have passwords to, but I actually don't know if you were to try to join from the main row controller. Give it a shot if you want.
Oop, tested my audio, and I think it made a fart noise.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was more farting in the original prototype that all
Nice.
became birds later. Yeah.
Where did y'all get these sounds from?
Andy Poland has a treasure trove of fart sounds in all different pitches.
Don't we all?
All right, I think here we go, starting it up. And I think there's one song in this that works, and it is the credits instrumental on Party Pack 9. So we all have to go vote for that. And Nate, who ended up being the lead on the final game, helped me out to do this prototype as well. The song for this. I think we all have to go vote for that, which I wonder if we won't be able to, because somebody signed in. That's not on the real controller.
I voted for it, Chase.
I voted. I did my part.
Man,
I
bet we
voted
can't.
for it.
Thank you. Um,
We have someone in the chat saying, I think I'm in. So maybe
Oh.
this might not. C
Yeah.
to the S. You're not supposed to be in this
You're a
time.
hacker.
Don't
And then
hack
yet-
us.
it's C to the S can't vote for this song, so we're going to sit here. I'm going to restart it.
CBS logs out. Would that solve the problem?
Probably not, but I'm going to refresh it.
Okay, everyone. No hacking, please. No hacking.
Here, I'm going to not share my screen until the game starts.
Great.
That's how we're supposed to do it.
Okay.
All right. Putting the password or putting the code in the chat.
Hmm.
Oh. It's all right. C to the S. All right. Now I will share the screen. Cool. I can't remember what instruments are in this either. I think there is. I think we're waiting for one more person to vote.
Me. I'm sorry. Just make sure I get this right. Which one do I have to vote for?
Party Pack 9 credits
right.
instrumental.
Just
for
wanted to make sure.
Quicksand. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
We did it.
Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, a lot of this ends up being very similar to how the final game was. The way these were organized was quite different, but and what these instruments were just what was easy to implement. But I'm going to go with the kazoo. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Cool.
Seinfeld bass, just a slap bass.
Yep.
Nice.
I mean, it's more than that, but yeah, essentially.
Yeah, so this is going to say 4, 3, 2, 1, which was the way that it was for a while until the tap, tap, tap mechanic came along and is much better. If you're out of sync, you can always recount yourself in. That mechanic didn't make it all the way into the game, I don't think. All right, here we go.
Ready. And 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Who was she?
Good question.
I'm doing bad.
Is there a reason why the theremin is up top versus down on the rest of them?
Oh yeah, originally I tried to make them more like the real instrument. So that theremin has like a volume control on it too.
Really?
Like one axis is volume and the other one is pitch.
Oh no. I'm very glad I picked the pots and pans. I'm pretty sure this is just what it sounds like when you open up the cabinet and they all fall out.
Wow. Musical harmony.
Digital
That sounded
sound.
like chaos.
Were
So
you
this could
afraid
try to play. Go ahead.
Sorry, Chase. I was just saying, were you afraid when somebody was as good as we are that it wasn't funny enough?
That was it needed to be, failure needed to be fun in this game, which I think we played
Yeah.
pretty well.
Not even really. Listen to that.
Wow.
Listen to that.
Feel free to turn your volume down.
How?
Also, in this prototype, you could add effects on your controller if you want to, like,
Yeah.
get a little wah-wah. We don't have to listen to this all the way through.
No, I think we do. People want to know. Free concert.
This was before Nate was involved in making it sound good.
What was the process in making something like this sound good?
Getting a musician involved to get levels right.
I mean,
Jesus
this is really
Christ.
like an incredible feat. Like to use like our tech to make a game like this is really remarkable.
How did you decide on the
basically.
birds? Do we know?
Chase the bird. Did
Chase
the birds
refuses
come
to say.
first, or when did the birds come in?
Chase, are you
Good
there?
Lord.
Chase,
What it
how
did
did you
prove
decide?
He's
was
too
that
moved. He's
in
moved
theory
by
we
that
could make
piece
this
of
work.
music. Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, was there a question? I could
Question
not hear
about
you guys.
the
What was happening.
decision to add birds and a bird-eating plant.
I think the idea for the birds came pretty early on in that we wanted to have a lot of instruments, and it was not realistic to have art for all the instruments. But birds are these amazing animals that can mimic and sound like other things. So I know that kind of originally came from that. The bird-eating plant came from wanting there to be more consequences for failing, and there was a meeting of what can we do when you fail, and eating the bird was clearly the right idea.
What was the discussion around like which instruments to pick? Because we have a good array of normal to silly.
A lot of that happened. A lot of it was the ones that we had access to. Nate, who was the audio lead, and Avery took a trip to Central Michigan University to record instruments with the students there, and I think a lot of the ideas came from like what we had access to there. And for the silly ones, we just had a bunch of brainstorms, and we kind of set the game up in a way that we could kind of have as many instruments as we wanted. So we would have added 1,000 more if we had time, but at some point we had to stop.
Well, great. Were there any little fun facts or any glitches before we get going?
A lot of glitches. A lot of glitches.
I think we just heard a glitch, some might
yeah.
say.
I think there was, coming in, there was, Nate was sure that he could make this sound good, but it was a lot of trusting in each other early on that we were going to get there, and I think we did.
I think you did as well. Well, I wanted to thank everyone so much for being here. We're a little bit over time, but very quickly, I would love it if everyone could say their name again and then their least favorite thing about spring. My name is Abby Russell, and I don't like pollen. I'm allergic. Tim, go.
My name is Tim Sniffen. In Chicago, spring, you never know if it's really here. Like winter could go through until May. So spring is one big tease. Spencer?
Yeah, I'm Spencer Ham, and my least favorite thing about spring are the Cadbury cream eggs. Yeah. CJ.
Hi, I'm CJ, and my least favorite thing about spring is being an April Fool. Chase.
I mean, yeah, exactly that. April Fool's Day is the worst. I could rage about that for a while. I'm Chase, and I hate April Fool's Day too.
And I'm Alina, and I think spring is too short. There, I said it. I ruined it for everyone. All right.
Hot
April Fool's
take.
Day every day.
Hot take.
Well, thank you all again so much for being here. Thank you for a little peek behind the curtain, so to speak. And thank you all at home for joining us and watching. We shall see you another day. And thank you to the mods. Everyone say thank you, mods. We love our mods.
Thank you, Mod.
Thank you,
Thank you,
mods.
mods.
Goodbye,
you.
friends.
Bye bye.